Have you ever thought about adding ABA services into your speech therapy practice? If you have, you are going to want to listen to this episode. It's probably the first on many CEUs and podcasts where we discuss this topic because collaboration is so very important. Today, I talked with Quintina Briscoe. She is a speech language pathologist and the founder of Pediatric Speech Lab. She has over a decade of experience and she specializes in bridging the gap for autistic individuals and others with communication challenges. Her older sister is a speech therapist. She knew she wanted to be a speech therapist. And we talk about today what you will learn in this episode is her journey to opening her own clinic and why she felt the need to start and offer applied behavior analysis in her clinic. And also we discuss what was the culture of that? Was everybody accepting? This is a wonderful episode. I can't wait for you to listen to this conversation.
I'm Rose Griffin, a speech therapist, board-certified behavior analyst, and founder of ABA Speech. It wasn't all that long ago that I felt overwhelmed by providing therapy for my autistic students and any students who were not yet speaking. Fast forward through many doubts, tears, research, and courses, and you will see the framework that I use today and share with over 60,000 readers weekly. One that will help you support your students and feel more confident in the process. I created the ABA Speech podcast to give you simple, step-by-step strategies to help you reach all of your students wherever they are on their communication journeys. If you're a speech therapist, BCBA, RBT student, or parent who's looking to help all students develop a way to communicate with the world, you are in the right place, friend. Let's get started.
We have a wonderful episode for you today, one that I'm really excited to cover as I've been thinking about it. I jot down a lot of notes in my various things where I jot down notes about things I want to cover here at ABA Speech. And this is definitely one of them. So thank you so much, Quintina, for coming on to the show.
Of course. Thank you for having me, Rose.
And I saw you on Instagram. I feel like maybe 7 years ago we did an Instagram live together, but I don't know. I could be just making that up. You seem that your name sounds familiar. I feel like in that online space, you're like, was I on that person's podcast? Did I do an Instagram live with them? Maybe, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, that is how it goes. But nice to see you again. You're doing such great work, and I really want to get into what you're doing at your clinic. But I always like to hear kind of like why you became a speech therapist, because I became a speech therapist. My mom gave me a career test my senior year in high school. And then I visited a family friend who was a speech therapist. And I just knew right when I got into college that I declared my major. I was like, oh, you can help people. It's science, but there's not a ton of math and the money is pretty good. And I just have never looked back. So tell us how you knew you wanted to be a speech therapist.
Sure. So my story, I always tell people it is not as heartwarming as I was in a speech class and I fell in love. That is not what happened to me.
Yeah.
My older sister is a speech pathologist. And she actually brought her first check home. I said, yeah, I'm going to do that. However, there is some sentiment to that because as soon as I started, so initially I had gotten into it because of the money. Yeah. But I was trying to figure it out, and so I was a teen mom. So I was trying to navigate all of that.
Wow.
And so once I started taking the courses, absolutely fell head over heels. I said, give me more phonetics, give me more expressive, perceptive, give me more linguistic issues, give me more about the larynx. Like I fell in love.
That's amazing. Okay, so you were a parent when you were going through your coursework to become a speech therapist?
100% a parent.
Wow.
To a 3-year-old little boy, and all of my classmates are looking at him now like, Oh my gosh, because he used to sit in class with me.
Yes. Okay. I have one of my very best friends that was in my wedding who I met at the Cleveland Clinic Autism Center. She had her son, I cannot remember, she was like 20 or something. She was in college and she would bring her son to her college classes. So the same. And now he's towering over everybody and he works
Yes.
for Ernst and Young. And it's neat to, but I know how much of a struggle that is just watching my friends. So kudos to you because
Thank
it's hard
you.
as it is, but that's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you.
Um, did you always know that you wanted to own your own clinic? Because I know you're a clinic owner.
I did not always know. Well, I started to figure that out when I was in graduate school. So my sister
Yeah.
told me, she's like, hurry up and get out of graduate school so you can open this clinic with me. And I'm like, okay. When I ended up graduating, she didn't want to do it anymore. She had gotten a school job and she was more settled on having kids. So
Okay.
she was just kind of like, I really don't want to dive into that. So I took it on myself.
Wow, that's amazing. So how long have you had your clinic then?
Sure. So I've been open running up since 2018,
Oh, wow.
2017.
Okay.
17. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. That's around the time that I started my business. Yeah, ABA
Yeah.
speech. Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. And you just learned so much is this the first business that you've owned as a small business owner?
This is the first business that I own. This is the first business that I own, and I learned a lot.
Yes, right? It's
Even though it's a new business, we have netted well over 3.5, well over
that's great.
5.5. And so
Wow.
while I was learning, it was difficult, very difficult. But I'm in a space right now in business where business is good.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think if you provide a service that's good and it's solid, and especially if you're a brick and mortar, are you a brick and mortar or you offer
Yes.
teletherapy too? Okay.
We're
You
brick
do
and
both?
mortar and multidisciplinary and hybrid. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I got on the site before. Yeah. I think when you have those services that are good, you just start to build that reputation of, now I even see like when I'm on a Facebook group or something, people will say, like, oh, yeah, I think ABA speech has something like that. So it's nice
Mhm.
when people know what you offer and you get that word of mouth referral because that is really helpful, especially when you have that brick and mortar. And the thing about therapy is that a lot of kids, especially autistic learners and other students, may continually need therapy on their communication journey, right? And a lot of the kids that I talk about at ABA speech are somebody who may need support, across their lifespan in different ways. So it sounds like you're providing that service for students and for the community as well.
Definitely, definitely. And I wouldn't even say the reason why I say business is good now. So I wouldn't even be talking about the actual business structure and,
Yeah.
the therapy. So it's not really that because we do have a wait list. We have a wait list of over 250 people. But the
Whoa.
hardest part about growing PSL was hiring, the company culture, retaining those type of things, knowing what salary offer to give, licensing. That
Right.
is what I was talking about was difficult. Being a
Yeah.
clinician came very easy for me. It
Yeah.
came very easy for me, but growing a business, adding disciplines and scaling to over 5.5 has been difficult in regard to managing and growing.
Yes, I can imagine what your team is like, and that's interesting to talk about. But here at ABA Speech, I'm a speech therapist and a BCBA. So a big thing that we do here at ABA Speech is we have a membership called the ABA Speech Connection, where people can earn their CEUs. So we
Yes.
provide CEUs for speech therapists, for BCBAs. Eventually, RBTs are going to have to get those CEUs. So we've already started offering those courses as well. And our new tagline is strengthening therapy teams, one CEU course at a time, because I think
Yes.
that when you have that culture of learning and growing together, it's so very important. And I'm sure you didn't learn that in graduate school. Those are things that you probably just picked up since you've had your business, right?
Oh my goodness, Rose. Yes. And we are also ASHA approved providers as
Oh,
well.
wow. That's amazing. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hard.
So, yeah, a multitude of things, but yes,
Yeah.
growing the team has been difficult.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Being an ASHA approved CE provider, I just always laugh when people are like, oh, this is, we're not a provider, but you don't need CEUs. But I think the people that do offer ASHA approved CEUs are held to such a high standard because it's expensive and like having all that data participant. It's very, very specific what you have to
Oh
give
my
to ASHA
goodness.
and report every month. So
Oh
I
my
think
goodness.
I know. I used to do all that reporting myself, and Heidi is my executive assistant. She's been doing it for about 4 years now, but it's just a
Mhm.
process, right, to be able to offer
Sure.
those CEUs.
Yeah,
And
and then also just with your following, like I know that they're listening to this, and it's your heart, Rose, to provide them with some substance,
right.
only when it comes to to what you're teaching, but hey, let me give you these credits so you can take it with you.
Yeah.
So kudos to becoming an ASHA approved provider, especially for the people that follow you. It really shows that you care.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. No one's ever said that. I need that in my life.
Yeah,
This is good. I'm gonna listen to this over and over again when I'm like sending Asher reports.
exactly.
Um, right?
You need
That's
the
awesome.
motivation, Rose.
Yes, absolutely. And I think what's so cool about your clinic is what I was kind of doing research. I didn't even realize this is, but you offer more than speech therapy services. So it's awesome to offer speech therapy or OT, PT. Sometimes we'll see all of those together, but it seems like you're also offering ABA. So kind of tell me the trajectory of growth, because we have a lot of people in my membership who own clinics, who have started as a speech therapy clinic, then they're adding in OT, and then they're adding in ABA. And it's very different to add that in. So, how did you know? I guess, how did the clinic start? Was it just speech therapy? And then how did you add things in?
Sure. So it started, I was working at an elementary school. I started driving around to my clients, then tragedy happened. Long story short, I was going into this house to see my client. And then the next week, he had driven down the highway and shot himself in the head.
Oh my
And so I
gosh.
had took myself out of the homes, and it wasn't my client,
Scary.
it was the dad.
Yeah.
He shot himself in the head and then the police officer's head off in the
Oh,
yard. So
jeez.
I moved, I stopped driving to my clients.
That's scary. Wait,
It is.
was this a client that you saw within your private practice?
Yes.
Oh, that's so
Because I started
devastating.
my practice part-time. I
Yes.
started
Okay.
part-time. And
Yes.
then I transitioned to in my car. It was in my car part-time. Went to my house, the basement of my
Yes.
house. I
Oh,
transitioned that into a clinic
wow.
space. And then
Wow.
I started hiring people. And then I moved it to a clinic space down the street. It had
Yeah.
grew very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And started hiring more people. We grew out of that clinic space within like 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Then I ended up having to go to another clinic space. Now, in the midst of us growing, and why we scaled so quickly was because a direct effect of adding ABA.
Yeah.
Direct effect. As soon
Right.
as we added ABA, scale immediately.
Right.
And so the only reason why I added it is because back up a little bit, I did ABA when I was
Oh,
an
okay.
so I was an ABA therapist a
Oh.
long, long time.
Right.
You did not even have to have certification to become an
Right.
RBT. It was
That's
not.
right.
It was not.
I've
It
I've
was
been I've
probably
been here long enough to know
yeah.
that too. It's a whole new thing, right? And now RBTs will need CEUs. I'm like,
Yes.
way back in the day, yeah, you just
Yes.
called like a one-on-one or like an ABA therapist. Yeah, it's
It
different.
was. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was just the ABA therapist. And one of the things, and this might help, your audience too, I really realized that I needed to add the service because
Yeah.
I looked at the diagnoses that were coming through. I
Yeah.
looked at them being diagnosed or misdiagnosed. I
Mhm.
also had the knowledge of identifying autism since I started grad school because I started to work as an ABA therapist. So it started to
Yeah.
become more of the things were being highlighted that I felt
Yeah.
like the clinic needed. And so I wanted to just supply a need. So many people either had autism or they asked for the service. That's how I
Yeah.
did it.
Okay. Okay, amazing. So, talk to me about if there were barriers. So, like, how many speech therapists were on your staff before you said you're going to add ABA in? I mean, historically, speech therapists and BCBAs, it's hard for them to get along together. And so, I'm wondering if you had how many speech therapists you potentially had on staff when you started to add in ABA, and if anybody was hesitant to you adding in ABA services.
Well, we had about 5 SLPs at the time. Between SLPs and SLPA, between full-time and part-time, we had
Yeah.
about 5 SLPs or SLPAs. They were not hesitant at all because you know what I find though, Rose, is that a lot of speech pathologists don't know how to manage behaviors. And so
Yeah.
we've had
Right.
a lot of students, a lot of
Uh-huh.
CFs that would come in and really benefit from doing a inclusive therapy session with the RBTs or just sitting in on their sessions. So to answer your question, they were definitely for it.
Oh,
Definitely.
that's amazing. That's not always the case, but I know I have a talk called When Behavior is a Barrier. And I do that talk a lot. It's an ASHA talk, and I do it for clinics often because we we are not taught how to support learners who engage in unsafe behavior or behavior that's a barrier to learning. And all the things I've learned in becoming a BCBA is because I've always chosen positions where I was in specialized programs for autistic learners who had unsafe behavior. And that's really kind of how I learned all about applied behavior analysis and how helpful it can be for that
Yeah.
particular learner. And I think that some people, you know what I think it is too? I think some speech language pathologists don't understand. They've never worked with somebody who engages in problem behavior. But I think that they feel burnt out too. I know from being on Reddit or, Reddit is a good one where you kind of get the scoop on what's going on in the field. But, somebody had
Mhm.
just said, like, what is going on with the behaviors in schools? Like, I am so burnt out. This kid doesn't want to, stay for the session, and now I think I, shouldn't even be on his IEP anymore. And I feel bad for that speech therapist because they don't have any support is what it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in the comments were like, you need an FBA, you need a functional behavior assessment, you need a BCBA. And
Mhm.
I wish that SLPs and BCBAs could work together, but it sounds like in your clinic everybody was on board, so that's exciting.
Yes, yes, everyone was on board, and we're really trying to get better with our inclusive model. Just because the ABA therapy has so many hours, speech does not
Yes.
have that many hours. So
Right.
there's not a lot of overlapping.
Yeah.
However, we are intentional about it, and there's an
Yeah.
issue, then we come together. So what we're trying to do is do more of the collaboration.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's
they love
awesome.
it.
That's
Hmm.
amazing. Yeah, because I think that we can definitely grow and learn. Like you said, watching somebody else's session. And I know sometimes people get defensive about that, but I feel like I never get to see anybody else do therapy. So I actually share an office. I work 2 days a week as a school-based SLP at my kids' own school. It's
Oh,
a very nice
nice.
mom experience. Yeah, it's good
Yeah.
work-life balance for me. But it's fun because I share an office with two other speech therapists. So I actually do get to see other people doing therapy, but really most of my career, you don't always get to see people doing therapy. So I think that we can grow and learn. It's not that you're not doing something correctly, but it's we
Definitely.
could all learn from each other. And I think when we have that
Definitely.
open mind that we can grow as a therapy team.
100%. And I think that if we identify that they overlap a lot,
Right.
then we
Yes,
could
right.
be more receptive to each other as a BCBA or an SLP?
Yes, absolutely. So do you offer services in your clinic and in school districts, or is it mostly in clinic? And what ages do you serve?
Sure. So we do in clinic. Most of our in clinic, probably between 2 and 17 is our highest numbers ages
Okay.
as far as ages. And then also we have some children, well, intellectual disability is what they've been diagnosed with, but of course they're older. And so they're about between 19 and 30.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Yep. And then we also are contracted with the Baltimore City public school system. And so we do teletherapeutic therapy for BCPS. And
Oh,
so we provide them with teletherapists
yeah.
and SLPAs as well as in-person SLPAs, facilitators, and teletherapists.
Oh, okay. So your company also you employ the facilitator.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
interesting. Okay. I did some teletherapy. I mean, once COVID hit, I was doing a lot of teletherapy. And
yes.
then my company's licensed in Washington State. So there's a really cool program up there where the kids get 12 weeks of ABA, 12 weeks of speech. And so we provide that speech therapy. And so it's nice. The one-on-one is there, and that's kind of nice for
Sure.
modeling and
Mhm.
collaboration. But I think not everybody understands how teletherapy works. And like, the fact that you have the facilitator, and that they're part of your team, I can imagine
Yes.
that that is really nice because if you get
Yes.
somebody like when the clinics that we work in Washington State are great because they're behavior therapists. I'm not sure if they're all RBTs, but they understand what we're trying to do and they're part of the session and they're 100% engaged and they're awesome. But that's not always the case in teletherapy. That facilitator piece can be really difficult. Um,
Yeah.
if you have somebody that's not great. Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So you
Yeah.
guys are
And we
doing,
train our therapists. So Baltimore City actually has mandated that we provide the facilitator. So we do
oh,
train our own facilitators and
yeah,
SLPs and SLPAs to send them out just so that we maintain our company culture. We don't go
yes,
into a culture and change our culture. So we do
right.
train them before they go into into the city schools to make sure they know you're still with Pediatric Speech Lab, but you do have to adapt to this culture as far as the public.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's totally different. School
Yeah.
versus clinic is different. Okay, interesting. I actually, I was in Baltimore. I didn't like, I just, ASHA had was it a schools conference? You know how ASHA used to have, I don't even know if they
Hmm.
do it anymore. They used to have an ASHA
Hmm.
schools conference, and
Schools
actually,
conference.
it was in Baltimore one year, and I was there, and I don't know,
Yes.
I got a free ticket. I volunteered. I don't remember if I did a talk. I'm not even sure what, but it was a nice conference. So I don't know if they do
Yeah.
that
And
one
Asha
anymore.
is here again in this year too.
That's right. Yeah, in Washington. I actually,
Mhm.
so because I'm licensed in Washington State, I flew from Ohio to Seattle, and that was really nice for me to be able to network and meet people. But yeah, are you planning on going to ASHA because it's going to be so close to you?
Yes, I'm actually planning to present at Asha.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Submitting a
So I'll be
proposal and all
talking.
that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And I wish I would have seen you in Seattle. I'm going to be presenting at Asha
Oh,
in Washington. But I'm going to be talking about scaling your private practice, adding
oh,
ABA
neat.
successfully.
Oh,
Mhm.
oh, neat. Okay, that's actually a CEU course we want to do in the ABA Speech Connection. So
Yes.
maybe I'll
Okay.
contact you about that because I get a lot of questions about that. Oh, so you were in Seattle?
No,
Yeah.
I'm in Washington,
No,
D.C.
no, but were you in Seattle for
Oh,
ASHA?
you know it. I've never missed.
Oh, really?
I'm that
Okay.
geek. Yes, I love Asha.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, it's fun for me because, well, you said you're a provider. What did you go to the provider dinner or no? Because when you're in ASHA,
My aunt passed away the week
oh,
before, and I had
yeah.
to change my flight and everything. I
Oh,
RSVP'd for the dinner and everything, and couldn't
yeah.
make it. Had to come in
Oh,
because it was on a Thursday, I think.
yeah. Okay. I probably would have met you then because, yeah, you sit at
But
these
I've been to
tables.
all of them
Oh, really? Okay.
since
Yeah. No.
I've been
Well, I went to ASHA in, how long have you been a provider? Because I was there in 2019 in Orlando. I went to
about
that.
three. No, I wasn't at
Oh,
that one.
okay. Yeah. So I think we've been providers for well, we just did our 5-year review. So about 6 years.
Nice.
So
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
So maybe I'll meet you at a future. I don't know
Yes,
if I'm going to ASHA next year, but it is going to be kind of close to me. Yeah, ASHA is a lot to take in. It's a
it
lot
is.
to take in. I mean, it's exhausting and
It is.
it's a lot to take in. I will say I was interested and intrigued in the exhibit booth hall. There were a lot more companies who offer speech, OT, ABA than in years past. So in the years past, there weren't many BCBAs that had booths and things like that. So um, Ashley
That's
doesn't always
fun.
come off as like everybody there loves BCBAs, but I always have a couple BCBAs to collaborate with when I go to those
Oh
things. So that's
no, I've heard that so much, Rose, and I haven't experienced it obviously because I'm not a BCBA.
yes,
But I've heard
right.
about the friction.
Yeah, so much. That's great that you don't see that in you. So you don't really see that in your dealings in your practice or where you're at in Maryland.
No, I think that I'm a genius when it comes to company culture and team collaboration, team building, team retaining,
Yeah,
growing.
that's great.
We've kind of perfected that.
That's awesome. So how do you foster a culture of compassionate collaboration then within your own practice?
So we make sure that people are first aware. We want to make sure that there are no secrets, they're aware.
Yeah.
My BCBAs and my speech pathology department are separated by leaders.
Okay.
So those leaders also they really foster the growth of both departments. So when we come together as leaders, I mean, I think that your leader is going to set the tone of your culture. So
Yeah.
that includes me as a CEO, that includes my leaders and my supervisors. So I'm very critical even with the hiring process. When we hire BCBAs or when we hire speech pathologists, we do ask them, what is your knowledge of collaboration with this discipline?
Oh, that's
How
good.
well do you work with this discipline? So we start all the way at the beginning in the interview process, honestly, and then
Oh, yeah.
consistently bringing the whole team together. So we have a lot of meetings at
Yeah.
my practice, but it's mainly to just continue to stay abreast of new things,
Yeah.
staying accountable. And so with the meetings, we really just we come together and collaborate and then disperse to our teams. And the
Yeah.
leaders just they have a good culture. We set our culture at the Pediatric Speech Lab. Everybody knows it's posted on the walls, it's in the lunchroom, it's inclusivity, autonomy, transparency, and respect. And
Oh,
so
really?
we foster all four of those things.
That's great. That's great. I love that. I'm reading this business book. It's called Traction. You might have read it. I'm rereading it. A lot of these business books I'm rereading because I've had my business for 7 years. But that's one of the things is they talk about your vision and asking people, do you know what the company's vision is? Because a
Yes.
lot of places really fall short on that. So it sounds
Yes.
like you are making sure that it's very transparent. And I love all those too. That sounds, well, it
Yes.
just sounds like an amazing place to
And
work.
then also, I think that now, while business is changing, right? Business is changing. Even from when I started my business, how you hire is different. You know, people want to be attached to mission-driven companies. They want to be
Right.
attached to a vision and a mission because ultimately leaders want to make sure that they are lead. I feel like everybody can be a leader. So if you're
Yeah.
attached and you know the mission and the vision, I mean, it's really only up from there. We also remind them about the mission and the vision in our quarterly meetings. So it's always in front of them for the eye to see and for them to retain.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Sounds very organized, just like a good speech therapy business would be, right? I'm like, I am very
Yeah.
type A, speech therapist, BCBA, like small business owner mom, you sound very similar. So
Yes.
I love this. This is great. I feel like this is just our first conversation of hopefully many. We'll have to bring you back
Yeah.
to do that CEU.
Yeah.
That sounds really amazing. Where can people find out more about you and your work?
Sure. So I am on, well, Instagram, of course, Quintina Briscoe, the SLP. And then I do free master classes. I actually have one. By the time this comes up, I probably would have already done it, but it launches today. But we'll have it return. I have a very minimal amount of slots because I'm working very intensely with a few of the clinic owners who are scaling with
Oh, that's
ABA.
great.
So
Wow, that's really
Quintina
awesome.
Briscoe, the SLP.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was great to chat.
Thank you so much, Rose.